Fellas, there's a few rematches in the UFC right now that I think make a lot of sense. Some of them are really close to happening or might have even been booked, and some of them probably less likely to happen, but I've got a list of some rematches between two fighters in the UFC that I think would be super intriguing. I think the build-up would be hype, and I think the fight would be even better. So I've got a list. Let me know if I missed any rematches out or, popular rematches that should happen. But the first fight I've got on this list is Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2. Now, obviously, this was supposed to be the main event for UFC 294, but then Charles Oliveira pulled out. And instead of getting an immediate rematch, they've done Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. And to be honest, I kind of like that because I'd rather Oliveira, come into the fight with proving a point before the fight. If he goes out there, he's knocked out Beneil Dariush, and if he can get past Arman Tsarukyan as well, that's two dominant lightweight wins in between his first fight with Islam. Islam's yet to face a single lightweight since Oliveira as well. He's beaten Volkanovski twice, and he's not a lightweight, he's a featherweight who just happened to make 155. The first fight was a dominant win to Islam, but the thing I like about this fight is it is the best versus the best, because if Charles Oliveira can beat Arman Tsarukyan, at this point he's beaten Chandler, Poirier, Gaethje, Arman Tsarukyan, and Beneil Dariush. He's got such a good lightweight legacy, and the only person he's not been able to beat in the lightweight division is Islam Makhachev. And obviously for Islam, I wouldn't mind seeing this fight again. I still think Islam would win if I had to bet money on one of them. I would bet it towards Islam, but the build-up would be insane as well. It's the two best in the UFC, well, in the lightweight division at least. And I feel like the hype for this fight, you've got all the Dagestani kind of Makhachev fans, and then you've got all the Oliveira fans. I feel like the build-up to the first fight was really intriguing. Don't want to see it in Abu Dhabi again because I'm kind of sick of the Abu Dhabi fights because the cards are always cursed. So maybe we do it in Las Vegas or somewhere in America, maybe even Brazil, even though I'm not sure Oliveira deserves that considering Islam's the champion. But yeah, Islam versus Oliveira 2, it got booked before. I want to see the rematch. I feel like it'll be more intriguing if Oliveira can beat Arman Tsarukyan as well. And yeah, I want to see this fight again. Next fight, Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes 2. Now, this is probably one of the fights on the list that aren't going to happen because Curtis Blaydes has been knocked out in the first round by Pavlovich, whereas Tom Aspinall's knocked out Pavlovich in the first round. So probably not going to happen. And on top of that, Curtis Blaydes does have a tough test ahead of him in Jailton Almeida. But Aspinall said he wants this rematch, and it kind of makes sense because it is unfinished business for Aspinall. It's the only person in the UFC he hasn't been able to beat, and I know it was an injury, so it wasn't like he got knocked out or he lost by getting dominated. It was an injury, but I feel like he's got unfinished business against Curtis Blaydes, and on top of that, I feel like Curtis Blaydes, if you exclude like maybe John Jones, I feel like Curtis Blaydes is the toughest stylistic matchup for Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division. He's great at mixing up his striking and his grappling. He hits hard, and I feel like against a guy like Aspinall who's also well-rounded, it can be quite confusing. And we saw for the first 15 seconds, and I'm not going to talk about it too much because it was only 15 seconds, but we saw that Aspinall was kind of getting tagged by Curtis Blaydes. Maybe that was just, a one occasion thing on the night, and it was like over a year ago now, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it did happen. So Curtis Blaydes, if he can get past Jailton Almeida, I wouldn't mind seeing Aspinall versus Blaydes 2 because Cyril Gane doesn't deserve a fight with Aspinall when he ducked him in Paris. So Blaydes versus Aspinall 2, I feel like it'll be a fun fight. The only guy that Aspinall hasn't been able to beat in the UFC is unfinished business. It's a difficult fight. And yeah, Aspinall needs to rewrite that loss. So maybe this could be like a pay-per-view. I want to say main event, but I'm not sure Blaydes is big enough to be a pay-per-view main event. And also Aspinall's past the fight night era now, so I'm not sure what they do with that. Maybe if it was like, I don't know. I don't know what they do with the main event, but what if they put it on a pay-per-view or a fight night. But I want to see this fight anyway. So Aspinall versus Blaydes 2. Next fight, we've got Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. Now, this one is the only one on this list that's actually booked. It's booked for UFC 299. And again, it's kind of one of those fights where Sean O'Malley has to rewrite that loss. And similar to Aspinall, it was an injury that caused the loss. It wasn't like he blew his leg out in the first 15 seconds. We did get to see a lot of fight time between them, but it is the only loss of O'Malley's career. But I feel like, again, that's why the build-up's so fun. It's the one person that O'Malley's lost to. And maybe Marlon Vera doesn't deserve a title shot because he literally got dominated by Sandhagen not long ago, but because it's the only loss of O'Malley's career, it's a chance for him to rewrite that loss, and it's also a chance for Vera to claim gold over a guy that he's already beaten before. And on top of that, I feel like Vera's a dangerous matchup because it's a 5-rounder, and even though he didn't look that impressive against Pedro Munoz at UFC, was it 292? Even though he didn't look too impressive there, that was a 3-rounder. If you know anything about Marlon Vera, you know that he's durable, and he gets better as the fight progresses. It's kind of like the longer the fight goes, the better the Marlon Vera is. So he's a dangerous matchup for Sean O'Malley. In the build-up with this fight as well, we saw at the seasonal press conference, the build-up between this fight is insane. They're both trash-talking each other. There's a lot of stakes on the line. I'm not sure what Marlon Vera's going to do if he loses to O'Malley. And even if O'Malley loses, at least we get to see Marlon Vera as a champion. And maybe we're going to see, Sandhagen get the next title shot. So it's just going to be a bunch of people rewriting their losses. But no, I like this matchup. I think it's a fun striking matchup as well. We've got O'Malley, one of the most entertaining strikers in the UFC, and with a guy like Marlon Vera, I don't see how it can be boring. There's not going to be much grappling in this fight, which is going to be a different kind of approach considering the previous opponents that O'Malley's had. So O'Malley versus Marlon Vera 2. I want to see the fight. It's a dangerous fight for O'Malley, but it's a fun build-up. And even though, we are going to see it at 299, and my early prediction is that Sean O'Malley is going to beat Marlon Vera, and I'm going to say by decision, even though Marlon Vera does get progressively more dangerous. Next fight, we're back with Islam Makhachev, and he's matched up against Arman Tsarukyan the second time. Now, the good thing about Islam Makhachev being in this video was that he's been matched up against Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. Now, they've been matched up against each other as well, and the UFC have told us that the winner of that fight is going to face Islam. So we're going to see one of the rematches regardless, which is good. And yeah, Arman Tsarukyan the second time, that'll be a banger of a fight. I mean, the first fight, we saw him in the first fight. It wasn't a complete domination by Islam. It wasn't like he went out there and subbed him in the in the first round or anything like that. It was a competitive fight. Even though Islam did win fair and square, it was somewhat competitive. And since then, Arman Tsarukyan has turned into an absolute monster. I mean, he's just gone out there and slept Beneil Dariush in the first round, just like Charles Oliveira did. And he's looked great in his last few. And if Arman Tsarukyan can get past Charles Oliveira, one of the toughest lightweight in the world right now, if you take away Islam Makhachev, that is a statement-making, performance by Arman Tsarukyan if he can beat Charles Oliveira. That is him making a statement. Because, like I said, Oliveira's beaten everybody. He's been able to clean out the lightweight division besides Islam Makhachev. So if a guy like Arman can just come along and beat him, then this is 100% the fight to make. And the build-up would be so good as well. The fact that it was a fairly close first fight, and now we're getting to see both of them in their primes, in their final form, have a rematch. I want to see this fight, and I hope maybe we do see this fight if Arman Tsarukyan can beat Oliveira, because that's what they've said. So, wasn't an easy win for Islam the first time. The build-up between this fight would be insane, and yeah, I really want to see this fight, to be honest with you. Final fight, Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. Yeah, we've just seen him fight at UFC 297. Yeah, the fight was amazing. The fight between these guys was absolutely amazing. The entire build-up was amazing as well. I mean, the pay-per-view weren't amazing, I'm going to be honest. The rest of the pay-per-view were kind of dead. But the main event, at least, between Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, the build-up was absolutely incredible for this pay-per-view. To say that the rest of the card wasn't that stacked, they did well on selling the fight. And it's kind of weird as well, because coming into the fight, neither of them really had any problems with each other. They both had problems with Adesanya, and it was kind of weird to see that, this entire kind of rivalry progress. And the reason I want to see it again is, first of all, we'll talk about the build-up. They've been trashing each other online a lot. I mean, Dricus du Plessis has been poking fun at Strickland, saying, keep crying, I'm the champion. And then Strickland has been complaining about a few decisions that happened in the fight. So the build-up's going to be there, and I feel like the rivalry is definitely going to be there. The only difference is one's the other one's the champion this time around. But yeah, the fight was absolutely amazing. I feel like it'd be a scrap again. I feel like you can match these guys against each other 10 times, and it's going to be an absolute banger of a fight all 10 times. I want to see the fight again. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of giving people an immediate rematch when they haven't even got a single defense. I mean, we saw it with Israel Adesanya. The second he lost to Strickland, nobody wanted to see Adesanya get an immediate rematch because he hadn't had a defense. But this fight was so close. It was such a close fight. It could have gone either way. A lot of the fans thought Strickland won. Some of them thought Dricus du Plessis won, and he is the champion now. So regardless of what you think, the only way we can see who's better is to match them up against each other again. So I want to see Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, number 2, pay-per-view main event. Both have what it takes to win as well. I genuinely wouldn't know who to pick. In the first fight, I was leaning towards Dricus, and he has won. But because it was such a close fight, and they've already fought each other before, and they know exactly what they have to do, I want to see this fight again. But yeah, that is my list for the most intriguing rematches in the UFC right now. Let me know if I missed any, obvious rematches out. Maybe it doesn't have to be between two champions. Maybe it could just be in general. But that's my list. Let me know your thoughts on them. Do you agree or disagree? And thank you for watching.